That's tricky. Samsung have just announced the new Galaxy S25 FE, the Fan Edition. It's the cheapest entry point to the S25 family with Android 16 and Samsung's One UI 8 and all their lovely Galaxy AI features. And I'll walk you through the phone in just a second, but the trouble is the S25 FE starts at £649, which compared to the standard S25 is 150 quid cheaper. That's $799, this is $649, so there's a little bit of a price gap there. However, if I go on Amazon, it is currently $710 for the S25, making only 60 quid more than the Fan Edition for a fairly significantly better phone. The trouble Samsung always has is when they launch their Fan Edition so far after the regular phones, like the S25, the Plus, the Ultra came out in January, by the time this comes out as the cheaper, more affordable option, the other phones are already discounted, on sale, you can get deals. But putting the pricing and the value to one side for a second, what's new with this S25 FE and is it any good? Well, I've just had a couple of hours with it at Samsung here in London, and yeah, actually, I really do quite like it. And it's a fairly big upgrade over last year's S24 FE. It's thinner, it has tougher glass, we have a bigger battery, faster charging, thinner bezels, we have a new 12 megapixel selfie camera, we have their updated Pro Visual engine, a slightly tweaked Exynos chip, as well as a larger vapor chamber cooler, tougher armor aluminium, and Samsung is still way out in front, shipping this with Android 16 out of the box, and with the promise of 7 years of full OS updates. So make sure you've hit that subscribe button and check back in with me in 2032 and we'll see how the phone's been getting on. This couldn't look any more like a Samsung phone. And in terms of the colors, well, we have 4 options. Jet black, icy blue, white, and navy. And I reckon that navy would be the one I would go for. And it's a tough cookie. We have IP68, water and dust resistance. We have their new enhanced armor aluminium for the frame. That's the same as you get on the S25 and the Plus. And it's 8% thinner and 11% lighter than last year's model. We're talking 7.4 millimeters thick and tipping the scales at 190 grams. And given we have a good size 6.7-inch display, it feels really comfortable to use. But I do like the material. It has this kind of glazed, soft feel to it. It's not going to pick up any smudges or fingerprints. It doesn't look cheap, although it also doesn't look particularly interesting. As for the screen, it's the same 6.7-inch Full HD Plus 120Hz as last time, although they have bumped the peak brightness from 1200 nits up to 1900, and also we now have their adaptive vision booster. So when you are using it at maximum brightness, the colors, the contrast all still look very nice. Now on the inside, the only area where we haven't really seen much of an upgrade here is the chip. It uses the Exynos 2400, and if you remember last year's S24 FE used the Exynos 2400E. So apparently it is the same chip, just a slightly tweaked, customized version for the new phone. The AI is slightly faster, we get a new ISP for the camera, so there's a few little upgrades there, but it won't be significantly faster. And I think that's the same chip as you get in the Flip 7 FE, whereas the regular Flip 7 has the Exynos 2500. So performance will be fine, but not quite up there in flagship territory. What is flagship territory though, at least on paper, is the battery. They've bumped it up to 4900 milliamps, 200 milliamp hours bigger than last year, despite the phone being thinner. It also supports Qi 2, we have 45-watt wired charging, which can get you from 0 to 65 in half an hour. But let's talk about the camera. Sorry, that was a bit creepy. Triple lens setup, essentially the same as last year. 50 megapixel main, 12 megapixel ultra wide, and an 8 megapixel telephoto, and up to their 30 times space zoom or whatever they call it. Nothing particularly exciting there. However, we have seen, particularly with the Flip 7, the Fold 7, how much of a difference their new Pro Visual engine that handles all the processing and upscaling and everything behind the scenes, how much of a difference that can make to your photos and your videos. And even in my brief hands-on time with slightly tricky lighting, I came away fairly impressed. But the headline upgrade in terms of the camera is the selfie. It's a new 12 megapixel camera. That's up from 10 megapixels last year. We also get a bigger sensor. It's a notably better front camera. To be honest though, the specs all feel a little bit academic with this because Samsung's really positioning it as like the cheapest, most affordable way to access all the Galaxy AI features. And we do get the full gamut here, from instant slow motion when you've long pressed on a video, and apparently this actually has been improved so you get more frames interlaced in your video. Oh, and speaking of video, it is nice to see that both the front and the rear cameras can shoot at up to 4K 60, and you can pause recording and switch from front to back. We also have their suite of photo editing tools, including generative edit, we have their audio eraser, writing tools, translation, all the usual gubbins. And while I think we all do kind of roll our eyes when it comes to AI, to their credit, I think Samsung do offer the best range of actually useful AI features on the phones. And of course you get Gemini, you can use Gemini Live, lots of nifty tools to play around with. So it's thinner, it's lighter, we have a brighter screen, we have a slightly tweaked chip, improved selfie camera, but generally the whole camera setup has been improved because of the Pro Visual engine, the new software and processing, Qi 2, 45-watt wide charging, bigger battery, tougher glass and aluminium frame. Come on, I need a 10th thing. What else is new for the 10th? New colors, let's go with that. So yeah, the S25e is quite a nice refinement, although probably not worth upgrading if you already have an S24 FE, maybe if you have something a little bit older, like 3 years or older, and it's just a good all-rounder phone. Great support in terms of the software, and you get all the software, basically all the software features of the flagship phones at a much cheaper price point. Because in the UK, the S25 FE will start at £649. That gets you 128 gigs of storage. There's also a 256 gig version for an extra 50 quid, which I probably would do, double the storage for an extra £50, or you can get 512 storage for £799. Don't do that. Just buy a higher end phone or flagship from last year. But as I say, the trouble is, if you just look at the RRP prices, S25 is 150 more, but with deals and discounts and even new on Amazon UK, I can get it for like 700-ish. I would pay that to get an S25 because you have the much faster Snapdragon 8 Elite chip. That's a properly flagship chip, not their Exynos 2400. You have a better ultra-wide, better telephoto. It is a smaller screen and a slightly smaller form factor, and the battery is smaller as well. So actually the battery might be a little bit better on the FE, but you also get a brighter screen, up to 2600 nits. You get Victor's 2 glass, slightly thinner bezels for the screen. The selfie camera is basically the same now on the FE as the regular S25. But overall, if you can get a discounted S25, which you probably can, I would definitely get that over an FE. So yeah, this is where the S25 FE may struggle a little bit to stand out, but that doesn't take away from the fact that it is a very solid all-round phone. I just probably wouldn't buy it, if that makes sense. But what do you think of the FE? Would you be tempted to buy their fan edition, or just pay a little bit more and get an S25, or even, wait a couple months and we'll have the S26 in January? There's always something else around the corner. Anyway, let me know what you think of it. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you've got any questions, drop a comment below. I'll also leave a link to the FE and also the regular S25s in the description if you fancy checking it out. And that's all she wrote. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time right here on the Tech Chap.